All right, what is up, my peeps? Joshua Smithy with another GSD Mode podcast interview. Every single week, I interview top real estate professionals, top entrepreneurs, and straight up top badasses out there dominating their space. And today, guys, got another epic, amazing guest on the podcast. So just to give a little backstory, and then we'll jump into the podcast here in the interview. But to give a little backstory about our guest today. So recently, NAR, National Association of Realtors 30 under 30 finalist. So that's the top 30 realtors under the age of 30, which any of you that are under 30 years old that are in this business know that's like everybody's freaking goal and dream. I know it was for me. It was like, I was just like, I got to win this award, man. When I was under 30. So, it's a big ass deal, man. So congrats on that. You're also a team leader and mentor and coach to new agents on how to be the best versions of themselves. So Darrin DeSilva, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Josh, hey, thank you for having me, man. It's really an honor to be on here. I really hope today, I know you got a lot of value you pour into this podcast, and I hope that I can provide just as much value as some of the other guests have provided, and hopefully, inspire maybe one or two people today. That's kind of my goal. So
yeah, you're gonna, man. And I appreciate you taking time to be here, man. I'm really excited and honored to have you on, dude. We were introduced through a mutual friend, Justin Reed, and he told me about your story. And I'm like, man, yeah, got to get you on here, dude, and go through that. We were talking before we hit the record button that, in this industry, and not just this industry, just life in general, it's like everybody sees the highlights, but nobody really usually sees the behind the scenes pain and just the crazy shit that we have to experience and go through, man. So and I know that you've been through a lot, dude. So with that, man, like let's rewind the clocks, dude. I mean, come walk us through your backstory. Like, what was life like before you got into real estate, dude?
Yeah. So, definitely a lot, right, to pack in, in this short time period. So I'm definitely gonna do my best. But, like everyone else, I have a backstory. Today my goal, Josh, really is, which, like you said, social media and Facebook and Instagram and everything out there, everyone's posting their wins, and we have to put on a mask, right? Whether it's for our clients or even for our family, just to look like strong and just stay positive. And a lot of times I think people don't acknowledge what's really going on, like on the inside, what the backstory is, how they're really feeling. And that's why today, like, I want to take my mask off. I hope that by me sharing kind of a bit of my story, that it can hopefully help some people out there. And to give you kind of a background of myself, I'm in the Northern California area, so in the Central Valley. Tracy, Stockton area is kind of where I do business, where I live. And I was living in a little cow town called Newman, California. And before that, though, I actually ended up in Newman from going to a wilderness camp. So when I was younger, I wasn't the best kid. I'll just say that. And my parents sent me out to a wilderness camp in the middle of nowhere. So in the middle of the night, I was basically kidnapped by four people come barging in our room in Pleasanton, California, and wake us up at 3-4 in the morning, and me and my friend, and we don't know what the hell's going on. They come in, they tell us, hey, get your crap, we're going. So we go downstairs, and both our parents are standing there and not saying a word, but they obviously know what's going on. So from there, we got transported all the way up to Bend, Oregon. And from that point, we got transferred to like a band of wilderness people. And from there, they put us in a van. We drove about an hour and a half in the middle of nowhere. They took us on a dirt road, and we're going around. They're doing circles, so we can't count how many turns we're going, and figure out a way to escape. And they drop me off, and then they take my friend, and I don't see him for another 2 months. But it was like a survival wilderness camp where we learned how to make fire with sticks, and we hiked over 100 miles with like 60 pounds on our back. And dude, it was crazy, but it was like a Native American based program. And it was really cool. Like looking back on it, obviously at the time I was pissed, I was a kid, but looking back, like that was a really good experience for me. But that was kind of the start for me of having some outside issues, having some issues. I fought a lot of demons personally, whether it was alcoholism and things like that. And that was kind of the start for me as a kid, kind of being put somewhere where I'm told I have a problem, I got to fix it. So after about 2 months there of living in the wilderness, making fire with sticks, I ended up leaving, and then that's how I ended up in Newman. Little cow town of like 10,000 people in the Central Valley. And so I ended up there, and a few years go by. And at this time, I'm about 20 years old, and my father, he passed away. And he passed away with cirrhosis of the liver. And, this is a big, strong dude. I looked up my entire life, like my father, I just looked up to him, and he had a bad alcohol problem, and it killed him. And I remember just looking at this guy, just yellow, his whole skin, just yellow, skin and bones, in the hospital bed. And it was just really, really tough at the time. So when he died, that caused me to kind of spiral down and lose a lot of hope. It was just me and my mom. And then my mom ended up selling the house. For about a year, I had been very isolated. I'd isolated from everybody, everything, just totally disconnected from my friends, family, and everybody. And then once my mom sold the house, the goal was to buy another house, but her credit was bad. She couldn't qualify for anywhere, and I didn't have a job. I wasn't going to qualify. And so we ended up going into hotels and basically just spending all the proceeds on hotels, all the way from Sonora, California. And then we would get kicked out of each hotel too, each time, because we weren't, let's just say we weren't the best tenants. That's for sure. And we went from Sonora to Modesto, to Turlock, to all the way to Tracy. And by that point, the money had pretty much ran out. We had spent it on hotels, obviously, and we'll just call it extracurricular activities, among other things. And that's how I ended up in Tracy. So I live in Tracy today. And I had my car, fortunately, because when the money ran out, we couldn't stay in a hotel. And I had my car, fortunately, that was paid off. And we went to the Walmart parking lot in Tracy, and we were just staying in the Walmart parking lot, just sleeping. And I was living off my mom's SSI checks, and she was just basically living off that. I wasn't going to get a job. I had no sense of responsibility, nor did I want to get a job. Josh, like my whole life, I didn't have a whole lot, but things were just kind of handed to me. I want to say I never really got like a sense of having to work hard. Like I was told to work hard and this is what you should do, but it was never like enforced, and so I never had that really growing up. And so we're in the parking lot, and my mom would like go in. We had like this little scheme to just try to eat, just have money to eat. And she would go in, she'd like take little makeups and stuff from Walmart and bring it back out, and then I'd go in and return it. And that was like our little scheme, and it got us by. And from there, we just had to kind of stay in the parking lot long enough for her to get her SSI check so we could get back in a hotel. And when we did, we ended up going to the Tracy Motel 6. And so, like I said, my car was paid off. I had actually got a title loan on my car. And being the responsible guy that I am, I of course didn't make any payments for that. So 2 days into staying at Motel 6, I hear an alarm going off. And I'm like, shit, that sounds like my car. So I go running out. I'm like in my boxers, my wife beater, and I'm running. And I see my car, dude, on a tow truck, just going away. And that's how I ended up in Tracy, is I pretty much got stuck there. But it was the best thing that ever happened to me, honestly. So we stayed in Motel 6, my mother and I, and then my mom and I, we had a real codependent relationship, by the way. Definitely is not the healthiest. And so we stayed in Motel 6 for a few months, and then we ended up getting kicked out of there with no money. And at that point, we were officially carless, homeless, and just kind of hit rock bottom. And at that point, we were in between her getting her SSI check, so we couldn't go anywhere else. So we walked, and we found there's a CVS in Tracy, and we walked behind there, and we just stayed there for a couple days, and then one day I woke up, and my mom told me that she was going to go to the doctor and get her prescriptions and things like that. I'm like, great, all right, and so she left, and I didn't hear back from her. And so 24 hours went by, and I'm freaking out. I don't have a cell phone. All I have is my clothes on my back. And so I find like the only payphone in existence, I think, at the time, and I dial collect, and I just try calling her phone, and she's not picking up. So I'm thinking the worst, and I end up calling my grandparents, and they pick up the phone. They tell me, Darrin, your mom, she doesn't want anything to do with you. She's done. She's going to go her own way. We're done with you. The family's done with you. We have bailed you out so many times. We've given you so many chances. You've burned every bridge. Just go to Salvation Army or something. And then hung up. And I'm like, man, my grandmother told me that. Like, she's like, she's like Mother Teresa to me, right? And so it hit me really hard. So I'm walking back to CVS, just kind of accepting what just happened. And it was tough. And I remember that walk back and how demoralizing it was. And so I walked back, and I just kind of accepted it. But I still needed to survive. So what I did is I found I need to find shelter back there. And so I found a big cardboard box. And at the time I was like 260 pounds, but it was like because it was in the back of CVS, so that's where they deliver everything. So they have boxes and everything. So I grabbed a box, and I slept in it. And that's kind of where I slept. Was in a box, and I remember I cut like a little hole in the box so I could see like if people were coming, or sneaking up on me. And yeah, dude, I remember that first week. It was raining. I had the flu. I'm just accepting everything that's happening, and it was really tough. So after about a day or two, I started to get really thirsty, really hungry. Didn't have any money, didn't have really anything. And so I thought, well, where can I just go get some water? And I remember getting up, and there's an In-N-Out burger across the street. And I just remember walking in with my head down, thinking that, when I go in there, these people are just going to look at me. They're going to stare. They're going to judge me. They're going to kick me out. Just all these thoughts, whether they were real or not. That's what I believed. And I walked into the bathroom in there, and I remember just sticking my head under the sink, man. And just drinking water because I was thirsty. And it was at that point that I just felt at my lowest. And so I walked out of there. Fortunately, I knew of some places that give food, so I would like walk over there and get food. That gave out food to like homeless and things like that. But one day I was walking, and I'm walking down the street, and I remember seeing these homeless guys, hold signs, and they're obviously getting money. I knew one guy that literally would pay for his hotel room every night. And so I'm like, man, maybe I need to get a sign. And so I'm walking and I see a sign on the ground. And it's funny because it's actually this sign that I have today. And I keep this sign with me. And I have it right in front of me. So on the other side of this camera is I usually have it right in front of me.
Hey,
So
can you read it? Just because we get about 10 times the amount of listeners on audio, so they can't see it.
Oh yeah, so the sign doesn't even really make sense. It's kind of weird, but again, I just found it. I don't even know what homeless dude had it. But it says, "Homeless, I'm just hungry. Please, if you can, thanks."
Yeah.
And man, every time I just hold this sign, I keep it on my wall, but when I hold it, man, it brings up a little bit of emotion, because that's where I was at. That's where I was at. And I just remember the first time walking up to the corner and how long it took me to think about, it was almost like doing your first cold call.
Yeah.
But how demoralizing it was. And I had to really boost myself up. Like, you know what, you just got to go walk up to the corner and do it. And I remember just holding the sign up for the first time and just putting it up. I was 22 years old at the time. And
this was like 8 years ago, right?
Yeah, this was 2014, like towards the end of 2014, going into 2015, is when this all happened. And within like the first hour, people started giving me food and, giving me $1 here and there change. And I'm like, okay, man, this shit works, and so that's what I did. That's what I kept doing every day. And I kept doing that. And, I would get that. I would go to the liquor store, maybe buy some food. And that's it. I really wouldn't have enough to do more than that. I'm lucky if I get 10, 15 bucks sometimes for 6 hours. My hourly rate was about $1 per hour at that time. And so one day I was walking, and I'm just kind of, you explore a lot when you're homeless because you don't got really anything else to do. And I'm walking on the side of the freeway, and I see this little camp, and it's got like trash bags. It's like an igloo of trash bags, and it's under a tree. And so I just kind of investigate, and there's 2 mattresses in there. It looks like a badass setup, and there's no one around. It didn't look like anyone was using it anymore. So I just kind of hung out, just saw if anyone else was coming, and and then I made shop. So I moved from the box to there, and I thought things were looking up. I had a mattress, it's rainproof, and I stayed there for a couple months, and I just continued to do to do that every day. And there were times, Josh, where, especially when I'm sitting there so close to the side of the freeway, just with no hope, thinking, would it be easier if I just walked up and just walked right in front of a semi, and just kind of ended it all? Like, what's the point? Like, what's the point of continuing to do this? Like, I don't know how to get out. I don't know what to do. Just thinking that my life is over at 22 years old, that I have nothing to offer, nothing to give anyone. I burned, my family doesn't want anything to do with me. And that was the state of mind I was in. But I kept going. Obviously I'm here, and I kept going. And so one day I'm walking, and I just held the sign on the corner for a couple hours, and I'm walking, and this guy calls me over. And so I walk over to him, and he just kind of starts talking with me. And it was right in front of the Burger King right there, which is all kind of in the same area. And he just kind of wanted to know my story. I looked young. I just didn't look like I belonged, from what he told me. And after about an hour or two, we just got done talking, and we both went our separate ways. And it's funny because at the end he was like, "Hey, can I take a picture of you?" And he took this picture of me. It was right in the Burger King parking lot. That was when I was at my bottom right there. And at the time, I'm like, is this dude like, this kind of creepy, bro? You know? But I'm glad he did, because I have that picture today. And it's something, again, I hang both those, my sign and that picture up right in front of me, and I see it every day as a reminder. And me just sharing it, you know, is a reminder. So that's why I'm grateful to just be on here, because it keeps that reminder for me of how easily I can fall back to that if I don't keep pushing. So a couple days go by, and I see him again, and he pulls over and he says, "Darrin, hop in. I'm going to take you to go get something to eat." And I was on my way to the liquor store, and I really had two options. I could keep doing what I'm doing or hop in the truck with him. And so what I did is I hopped in the truck with him. He's like, "Where do you want to go?" I'm like, "Let's go to Kentucky Fried Chicken." I went to Kentucky Fried Chicken, got a big ass box of chicken, tore it up. And then he just kind of talked with me and just kind of wanted to see where I was at and see if I wanted to get help. And this man had knowledge, you know, he had been like in recovery and things like that. So, you know, he kind of knew the process. And I'm so grateful, you know, God did for me what I couldn't have done for myself, and put that man in my life. And he got me into a men's living house in Tracy. It's just a house packed with like 10, 12 guys. And I went there, and that gave me some hope. You know, this man just reaching out, he gave me some hope, and made me feel like, man, maybe I got a chance. You know, maybe I do have a chance. And that house, honestly, Josh, was everything that I like apply to my business today starts with that house. That's for me. And it begins with the structure I learned from there. The first thing they taught me there was make your damn bed. Wake up and just get a win for the day, right? Wake up, just make your bed. Boom, you already got a win right off the bat. You know, wake up, pray, do something. They gave me a job right when I got there, to clean the bathroom, right? Because I was a new guy. But man, I was so grateful. I had that bathroom clean. You could eat off that floor. I mean, I was just so happy to have something, you know, and have a purpose. You know, they want me to clean the bathroom. They want me here. Like, just that alone was just what I needed, just some hope. And that led me into getting my first job, which was selling Kirby vacuum cleaners door to door. Which, even though it didn't really pay that well, I was just happy just to have a job, you know, even though I was working 12, 13 hours a day, jumping into a van and being dropped off in less desirable neighborhoods and knocking on people's doors. I was happy, you know, and I sold a good amount of vacuums. But that was the start for me, you know, is just having that structure and the network. You know, that's the other big thing for me too, Josh, is the network. You know, this man introduced me to a group of people who had kind of been through similar experiences, and they found a way out. Like, they found happiness, you know, and I didn't know how to get there, but obviously this group of people did. And so all I did was rip off and duplicate, you know, as we say, and that's it. And plug myself in with these people and just followed the process and always stayed open-minded, right? like always remaining coachable, like that's why I'm saying, like, everything I learned, I just apply to my business today, and it's the same foundation. And it's really just propelled me mentally. It's propelled me to believing. I heard this guy say, and it really spoke to me. He said the easiest thing I ever did was make $1 million. He said the hardest thing I've ever done is believe that I can do it. And that really spoke to me, because for me, just believing that I could be somebody, or I could just be a part of society again from where I was at. That's what I needed. And these people gave me that. They helped give me hope when I had none. And that for me is really the fundamental thing that changed my life, is the people I surround myself with. And I attribute all my success, all my wins, everything to the people I surround myself with, and my network.
Yeah, 100%, dude. So just out of curiosity, that I guess you were about 18 at the time. When you went and or maybe you were younger, the up in Oregon, right? The 2-month kind of in the nature camp that you were in.
Yeah.
In hindsight, was there anything from that experience, anything that that became foundational, that has paid off for you down the road?
Yeah, I think if I just could think of one thing, you're really tested mentally out there, physically. And when you're out in the elements like that, your mind shuts down way before your body does. And I remember all the times I had to remind myself, like, dude, your body can keep going for 100 miles. Like, you're only on mile 5. Like, it's just, you're the one shutting down. And just remembering that mental battle. And if I can overcome that mental battle, when that voice starts to come in and say, hey, you could take a break, Darrin. Hey, you're good. Just go ahead and sit down. Just stop. Just remembering that that's not real. I can take a lot more than that. And that's probably one of the biggest things I took out of that.
Yeah. So then, so now you're starting to, sell Kirby vacuums. You're doing that for a period of time. Then you jump, I believe, into the auto industry.
Yeah.
Start selling cars, and then kind of climbing the ladder there. What then led you into real estate? Like, what was that thing that was like, all right, this is the next vehicle for me?
Yeah. So I was just working my ass off at the car dealership. I was the top producer there. I could only sell more cars if I practically lived there. So I just saw that my time only went so far. And so I remember talking to somebody about real estate, and they just mentioned, oh yeah, I'm getting my real estate license. And that just kind of piqued my interest. And to me, when I started investigating more into it, it was kind of an opportunity where the amount of effort I put into this is what I'm going to get out of it. And there's no limit, period. It's all based on my work ethic. It's not, hey, you're worth this much, Darrin. Hey, I'm going to pay you this much per hour, Darrin. It's, dude, your activities, your effort is going to be how much you're worth, period. And I love that, because then it's on me. I have nobody else to blame. And I could deal with that. Because I knew I was working my ass off at the car dealership. If I worked just as hard, I mean, I would be successful. And that was my belief. I believed that going into real estate.
Yeah. And what amazing foundations, dude. In all of it, right? Like, even, I mean, the great thing about experiencing rock bottom like that is, like, you got nowhere to go other than up, but then you've also experienced it, so what that's like, and that can be a whole other driving force, and I'm sure there was a lot of just mental, strength and resiliency that was built up by overcoming that situation, which, and in business, dude, like, you got to have that mental strength and that resiliency, right? Then from there, selling Kirby vacuums door to door, selling cars. I got to imagine that those skill sets then carried over massively to help you succeed in real estate? You know, what would you say from, you know, selling Kirby vacuums in the car industry, that skills that you learned there that have really served you really well in your real estate career?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things, and I think that those foundational items, like you said, like that, I can use for anything, and that's, I think, what's helped me. The one thing I could say that that has really helped me is to just always smile. They had a saying, always smile, positive, Kirby, positive, be positive. Just that one thing has helped me, because it's always allowed me to keep a smile on my face with people, with clients. People are shoving doors in my face. Guess what? I have a smile. If I go to a door and I have a smile on, well, they're less likely to shove the door in my face, right? And not only that, but when I smile, it gets me into a different state. It's like try to be angry and go like this. You know what I mean? Like it's just something like that really stuck with me this whole time. And there's a lot of things, right? Just dealing with rejection. If you want to learn how to deal with rejection, go get a job at Kirby.
Yeah.
Like, and scripts, learning how important it is to know what to say and how to say it, what questions to ask, and how important knowing what types of questions to ask. And by asking questions, you can lead people a certain way. Just like kind of all those basic fundamentals, I think, of sales is what Kirby did for me.
Yep. So then, all right, you jump into real estate, and they say it's only been 3 years now, roughly. So you jump into real estate. What did you start doing out of the gate? I mean, this real estate, this industry's tough. 90% failure rate within the first 3 years. I'm just thinking in my head of selling Kirby's, that, okay, man, you just go to what you know. Now you're out there knocking doors, pounding the pavement. I don't know if that is true or not, but like, what did you start doing out of the gate to go out there and, ensure that you had a successful first year?
Yeah, so the first thing I did was make sure I was kind of already doing this with cars, and just using social media as a tool for people that know me, my sphere, and things like that. So I just really just made that shift from what I was already doing to real estate, announcing it to the world. I didn't want to be a secret agent. I wanted everybody to know Darrin's in real estate. And that's what I did. Just be consistent with that, posting on social media, filming video, just documenting really everything I was doing, reaching out to all the people I know. Because when you're new, I didn't have a budget. I couldn't pay for leads, really all I did was get into that. And luckily, I was able to generate, a decent amount of referral business and things like that for my sphere. I instantly got into networking with people and built referral partner relationships with lenders and other people, because I knew the importance of network. So, I mean, my first week, I instantly tried to find out where the meetings are, who's who. I wanted to really brand myself. And so I knew that, I don't know where my business is going to come from, but I'm just going to put myself in front of as many people as possible so everybody knows who I am. And I'm going to talk and have as many conversations with people as I can. And that's it. Just how many conversations can I keep having with people? And that's really what I just did my first year. And there was a lot of door knocking and things like that. Dropping off flyers at 5 a.m. in the morning, once a month. I was doing everything. And then, I did get into cold calling expired listings. And, that's definitely a grind, but that's one of the things that, again, I didn't have a large budget. And those are the things that I did, is the things that I could do to proactively, get clients rather than passively, like through marketing and internet leads and things like that.
Yeah. When it comes to networking, dude, because I hear a lot a lot of agents that I talk to are like, oh man, I don't really get deals from my vendor partners. I don't get deals from, other, what do you want to call them? People within their network. And I know it's a silo of your sphere of influence, but it sounds like yours was kind of more B2B. With that, what seemed to be the key for you in those relationships and working those relationships? So then that way it led to actual business to be had.
I think just instead of telling, like showing how professional I am and how serious I take this business, and just separating myself from all the other agents out there, asking these people how I can help them. I want us both to grow our businesses together. It's not a me take, it's, hey, what can I give and how can we both reciprocate that? And that's really what I started to do is just try to find those people. And if they didn't refer or be open to that, then I just find a different person, keep going until I find somebody that sees the vision, and not everybody will, right? So it's a numbers game, like they say, you just keep finding, there's somebody out there that will see your vision and believe in you and believe you're the person that's going to get it done. But I have to do my part and show them that their trust is going into the right place, so, and that's really what I try to do. I try to be a guy today. Before I was homeless, I was the type of guy that if you couldn't really depend on. I was the type of guy that if he said he was going to do something, chances are I may or may not do it. It might be a 30-70 chance, and leaning more towards the 70. But today I'm a guy where if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. People know me as being somebody that's dependable, that they can rely on. And that's solely not because of me, and I'm just this great freaking guy. It's because of the people I surrounded myself with that showed me a better way of living, and how being a person like that, caring about others, giving back, being reliable, how it has changed their lives, and how it's changed mine.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm sure you probably went through this thought experiment probably a million times, but it's like, what would your life look like if that guy didn't show up in your life, ask you to get into his truck, but because the fact that he did that, you're able to go out there and see what actions that another human being takes and makes, the impact that spills over into other people's lives. I mean, it's got to be like just insane, for you being somebody that's experienced that.
Yeah, and I do think about that sometimes, and I can tell you exactly probably where I would be. I would either be dead, I'd be in jail, or worse, I may have, I could have potentially hurt somebody else because of my negligence or whatever, who knows, what the route I was going, so, 100%. I owe a lot to that man. And it's funny because, we'd be talking, and, he would I would tell him, man, thank you so much. Like you have helped me. And he's like, you know what, Darrin, actually, you've helped me more than I've helped you. And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, you literally picked me up off the side of the road and like saved my life. He's like, you'll get it someday. Like you'll get it. I'm like, whatever, and 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 then eventually I got kind of what he was saying, and there's a saying, in order to keep what you have to be willing to give it away. And whenever I'm in a state where I'm just thinking about me, or I'm overwhelmed, or something in my life is going on and I'm thinking about me, when I go help somebody, or I reach out to someone that maybe has it worse than I do, now I'm like, man, what am I complaining about? And now I'm more worried about how I can help them. And now my problems become small. And then now I just want to see, how can I help this person? You know, what can I do to help them? And it just changes my thinking. And now I get out of the problem and I'm into the solution. And that's what I got from him saying that. And that's when I really understood why he meant that, is really in order for him to keep the life that he has, you know, I gave him an opportunity to give back. And that's kind of been another thing that's really stuck with me, and it sticks with me every day, you know?
Yep. Yep. Love it, dude. So then, all right. So, we talked about your first year. What then, any transitions and changes going into your second year, as you started to identify what works, what doesn't work? Well, first off, I mean, what did your production look like your first year? Like how many home sales?
Yeah. So the first year I did about 12 deals, for close to about 5 million.
Okay.
We have an average price point in our area of about 400,000 or 500,000. That was the first year. Second year, I did about 23 deals and about 11 million. And then this last year, for 2022, I did about 15 million. I got higher price points, more listings, and I did about 19 deals. And on top of that, I created a real estate team. So every year it's been really cool. I've been kind of growing in some way or another, going from single agent to being blessed to now help other agents do the same, and it's really been a blessing, because for me, like I talked about, helping people is that's the foundation of how I continue to have the life I have. And if I can align, like real estate secondary, like I gotta work out, I gotta get my mind right, I gotta help others, I gotta be spiritually fit, I gotta be right with me first. And then as a result, my real estate business will just get better. But if I can align my real estate business with those same principles, helping people, giving back, those types of things, I mean, for me, that's fulfillment for me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I'm so grateful that I get to be a team leader now, because I have the ability to do that.
Yep. Love it, dude. So, and then we'll get into the transition to team here in a moment. But at first, all right. So, 5 million your first year, then, you scale that after, several years to, 19 million. Like what has changed between, year one? I mean, like, what are you doing now differently today, to go out there and grow your production and business? Like what have you really nailed down that works best for you from an overall strategy standpoint?
Yeah, for me, it's just how many conversations am I having with people? I think like because there's two things there, right? Like my production and then what we do for the team. Our team, we have internet leads, we preach the same thing. Conversations lead to appointments, and just having that consistent structure every single day. Your hour of power, we have our role plays Monday through Thursday, to better our skills, from 8:30 to 9. Do an hour of power. We have a Monday mastermind at 10 a.m., which is very powerful. But we have like 600 agents all throughout the country, that are all doing hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate that we learn from. And that's pretty much what we preach, every day is just having some sort of structure, to answer your question.
So then, so when it comes to, I mean, cause like, look, I mean, I get people all the time, they're like, hey, what's the best lead source? And there's some complexities to that. It depends on, like, do you want to operate? Do you have a reactive infrastructure or, proactive? I mean, but at the end of the day, it comes down to a lead is just a human being. that human being is being delivered, contact information is being delivered to you. Like, then from there, what are you doing? It's it's that follow-up. And when we talk about conversations, because that ends up being the key, dude, as far as, what are those reach outs? What are those conversations? Do you guys have, or do you have a like KPI goals? Like, is this something that you guys are tracking where it's like, okay, hey, we know if we have, you know, 35 conversations, it's going to equate to a sale. So then based on that, here's how many conversations, that we need to be having, this day, this week, so forth.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing, Josh, right? With my team, we're definitely very early on, and I know the importance of tracking and measuring. As a team leader, I'm sure you can appreciate this. Building systems and tracking and measuring is hard to create those systems, right? Unless you have the money to pay for those things up front and just have somebody do it. So that's something that we are doing. We track our numbers. We know our conversion rates. Like when we do Zillow, we have about a 10% conversion rate per lead. And some of those things we can definitely be a lot better on. We've started a new CRM, Sierra Interactive, over the last 2-3 months. So we're definitely trying to build the data so that way I can say, okay, so if you make 100 phone calls, you're gonna have 10 people that pick up or 20 people that pick up, and out of those 20 people, you're gonna get 5 leads and 2 appointments and 1 closing. So then when you have that closing data, you can say, okay, well, I know every time somebody picks up, that's $300. Or every time I get a lead, that lead is $1,500, right? And that's ultimately like where I want to get us, but we're definitely still in the toddler phase, right, of our team. So, but we're making attempts to get there. That's for sure. And I have coaches. Lindsay Stevens is my coach. She's a team over in the Hudson Valley in New York. And again, I just surround myself with lots of people to educate me on how important tracking and measuring and like you said, those things are.
Yeah. It's the key, man. I mean, the language of money is numbers, so it's like, dude, I mean, at the very basic level, and I can always see somebody's commitment based on, how well they're tracking or how much they're tracking or not. I mean, it's a basic, the kind of first level of commitment inside this business. Because again, if you don't know your data, you can't make smart strategic decisions in your business. You can't replicate, you can't duplicate, and but yeah, I mean, having that data and that intel is so damn crucial. Because then, like you were just saying, you can also gamify it. So then you can start breaking it down. Now, of course, there's going to be averages. It's like, okay, like I know, okay, per 35 conversations equates to a sale. That's our team average. But then, a lot of that's dependent on skill set and, other things. So you might have somebody that's more like, 1 out of 23. And then over here, maybe somebody that's 1 out of 45,
Right.
So then even then when you get that data individually, roll it up so your averages, but then individually then allows you to coach each individual, based on their own data to be able to show them, okay, here's where your weak spots are. And it's powerful with that. So yeah, and I'm guessing you probably had to do that Kirby too, right? Like track, okay, well, here's how many doors I had to knock, here's how many doors open, right? The conversations to no's to yeses.
Yeah, exactly. It for me, and that's actually been kind of my 2023 goal is solely tracking and measuring. And I know me and a buddy of mine, we just got back from the Tony Robbins Business Mastery event. And dude, that just like totally opened my mind on how to look at a business. Like how I looked at it before, dude, it was just, I mean, I was not on the same planet. And the one takeaway that I got from that, I mean, among all the takeaways, right? It's like a fire hose of information, but was, like you said, tracking and measuring. And that's the biggest focus for me and the team this year, is to make sure we have all those numbers dialed in. Cause like you said, if you don't know where you've been, you don't know where you're going or how to change it. And so, that's definitely the biggest takeaway I got.
Yeah. So then, when it comes to the team side of it, I mean, you mentioned Zillow leads and I don't know if there's other internet leads, but I mean, the market, dude, it's shifting, it's changing. A lot of people right now, because throughout the country, you have different pockets, a lot of different shit going on right now. Like a lot of places in the Midwest and Northeast, the market is still on fire, crazy sellers market. And then you have places in the West and Southwest where it's falling off of a cliff, and then, and a lot of in between, but one thing everybody's experiencing is this transaction volume decline. And the sharpest and longest consistent transaction volume decline that we've really had in recorded history. And, so, people are feeling it right now. So, I mean, what are you guys doing right now that from, whether it be the lead sources, but also like, what are you doing with those lead sources as far as, follow-up protocols and so forth, that seem to really be kicking ass and getting you results today here in 2023?
Yeah. So, the activities that I did last year are not going to give me the same results this year. From listening to everyone else. If I want to do what I did last year, I have to double the amount of activities I did this year, because like you said, the transaction count.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where again, tracking and measuring is so important, like you said, because if I didn't track and measure last year, how do I know what to double this year in order to have similar results? So really, I mean, for us, it's just conversations, speed to lead, making sure that we're staying on top of our follow-up consistently with the cadence that we do have when new leads come in, and just staying on top of those things and making that the primary thing we do each and every day. And just having that structure. At least that's what I preach to the agents. Whether they do it or not, I don't know. Well, I do know, but that's kind of what we preach, is just trying to be consistent and just having that time period where you're prospecting every single day.
Yeah, at the end of the day, dude, so many people are looking for a magic pill, but there isn't one. It doesn't exist.
No.
Like it's like, you want to get in great shape. Okay, well, eat clean foods, monitor your caloric intake so you're not, at an abundance of calories, do activities, get your body moving. It's like there's no fancy anything to it. There's no fancy diets, there's no fancy work. It's just the basics,
Just the
same thing
work.
in business,
It's hard
dude.
work.
It's so when I first got in the business, dude, I'm kind of aging myself here. I mean, it's back in 2005, and but the blessing is that there was no YouTube, there was no podcast. So when I'd want to have to go out there and shadow top producers and see what they're up to, I had to jump on physical airplanes and go spend 3-4 days at their office. But I spent it's about a second year in the business. I spent about 40 grand that year and just traveled, just every top producer I possibly could. Because at that point, I was like, dude, I want to become, one of the top teams in the world. Like I knew that that's the path I want to go. So I'm like, I got to study these fucking top, motherfuckers out there. But dude, I was almost disappointed. Not that I didn't learn a lot, but it was like nobody did anything fancy. It was like they just understood the fundamentals. They mastered the fundamentals. They did them better and more consistent than everybody else. Nothing sexy, nothing, right? It's just,
yeah, and it's funny you bring that up, Josh, because it's we have I know for me, I have shiny object syndrome all the time. You have people who are just crushing it with YouTube, and people who are crushing with social media, and people are crushing with this. So, okay, now I hear that this person is doing $100 million a year doing Instagram. Well, okay, now I'm going to start being an Instagram realtor influencer, right? And just because it's the easier thing to do, like it's the softer way, it's the least resistant. I don't got to talk to anybody. I can just post a funny video. And at the end of the day, for me, it's like you said, it's mundane, it's boring. It's just do your follow-up, an hour a day, 2 hours a day, make your calls. That's it. And that's it. How many conversations you having? It's a simple thing, whether it's on the phone or you're getting in front of people. Like that's what I tell everyone. Like, I don't care. Like if you're going to go in front of people, you can get more conversations just sitting on the phone and a lot faster. But as long as you're going and having those conversations with with intent, like you're being intentional, that's it. It's just a numbers game and keeping track of that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, how many agents are you up to right now on the team?
Yeah, so we just switched to EXP. We were with Realty One last year, and we just switched to EXP in January. And right now we're at 6 agents.
Okay, so 6 agents on the team, and then I'm guessing that you're also strategically building your downline in addition to your team.
Correct. Yeah. Exactly, which is definitely one of the things that attracted me to EXP. But for me, that was just like a little part. For me, it was again the network. You know, these masterminds and groups that I'm a part of through that is really what attracted me to EXP, and learning and growing with these people. That's ultimately what I think it is going to allow me to get where I want to be. Like, I know I'll get there. I know that's a fact. I just don't know how yet. And I'm just moving along, but I know I will get there. And if I surround myself with people who are there, who can guide me and show me a proven method on how to get there, I'll get there.
Yep. Yeah, that's definitely the key with EXP, dude. Now I'm not with EXP, but I studied the model. A lot of great friends that are there. A lot of my coaching clients are there. But that intentional figuring out intentionally, being extremely intentional with who your upline is going to be.
Yeah,
So I have coaching clients that are making that move, and I'm like, okay, based on your goals and where you're at, like, let's figure out, here's these upline options, put those pieces together, because I've seen it. I mean, that really makes or breaks the overall experience.
Right, exactly. And that's kind of what I tell people too when they're, because people just think EXP, and like you said, it's for me, it was strategic. It wasn't just EXP. Really, it wasn't EXP. It was the upline. It was the group.
Yeah.
That's it. Period. And and that's why.
So what's your vision, dude? I mean, like, what do you, I don't know, snap your fingers, it's 10 years down the road, dude. What's your perfect business look like? Like where do you want to take this thing?
Yeah, so my vision, 10 years is definitely a long time, right? So just business wise, personal, or
All of the above, man. I mean, business leads to personal, right? So
yeah,
it's like we don't work to live, or live to work. You work so you can go out there and create that dream life.
right. Yeah, so I guess personal, financial, 10 years from now, I want to have about 50 doors. That's a goal of mine. And I believe if I get there, like, to me, if I had 50 doors, dude, that would be an amazing goal. Kids. I don't have kids currently, but I just got engaged in October. So working on it. As far as my business goes, Josh, it's funny because if you asked me that same question a year ago, it would have been a different answer, and I feel like the needle keeps moving and changing, so what I tell you right now is probably going to be different a year from now. Right. And that's what I find funny. But if you ask me right now, my goal would be to be the top team in San Joaquin County, period. I want to have a team that agents come to because they feel like they're lost with other teams and other brokerages, and they know that by coming, they will be given the resources, not only to help change their lives, but to ultimately change their businesses and have an actual business, not a hobby, like be given the actual structure of a business. And us being able to provide those resources for them through mentorship, through plugging them in with the right people. And that's kind of what I see for this team and the vision that I have.
Yep. That's awesome, man. So, I know we're going long on time, so there's a couple last questions for you. So how is it today with your family? Have you guys reunited, or have you still?
Oh yeah, dude, I can't get rid of them. They call me all the time. They're calling me. It's funny, I get people, they call me, they'll ask for like advice, they'll ask for help, they'll ask for just me to come have dinner with them. All these things, and I would have never dreamed that would happen. I'm like, are you sure you want advice from me? Like, that's how I feel sometimes, like, are you sure? But I guess, I've been through enough, and I have, to where my experience, I can share. That's all I have. Like, I can't advise anybody anything. All I have is my experience to share with people. And fortunately, I think I've been through enough where I can provide a lot of value to people. And my family, just that, like when I hear somebody saying, oh, I'm going through this with my family, I'm going through this. Well, when I share my experience with what happened with my family, sometimes it gives them hope. Like, maybe my daughter will come around and talk to me again. Maybe my wife will answer the phone, or whatever situation they have, just letting them know, like, I was in that place, if not worse. And it did. When I started focusing on me and I stopped focusing on everybody else, that's when things changed.
Yep. Yep. So, but your, relationship's good now with your mom and your grandparents, and it's all reconnected.
Yeah, everything's all good.
Awesome.
My mom, she's doing her thing in Sonora. My grandparents, my grandfather, he passed away last year. But so just on that too, Josh, and that right there, just being able to have my grandfather pass away, knowing that I got out of that, like being able to be a part of his life, being able to be there for him. Every time I would see him, he would just tell me how proud he is of me. This kid that never did anything, right? Me and my grandfather used to go back and forth and argue and all that. And so we just had a completely different relationship, and it became a really powerful bond me and him had. And I'm just so glad that he got to pass away, knowing that I'm going to be okay. And I know that meant a lot to him. Whereas if I would have kept doing what I was doing and he passed away, I would have never got that opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite the journey, man. Homeless to 30 under 30, dude.
It's crazy, man. Yeah, and I hope, if I was able to hopefully help just one person today, maybe somebody who's going through something and feels like there's no hope and feels like everything's lost, and hearing that and maybe giving them some hope, like you can pull through, then it would make it all worth it. It would make me sharing my story, being vulnerable, putting it out there. To me, that's why I do this. That's why I'm open with where I've been, is because it's not about me anymore. It's about who I can help. And ultimately it could save a life. I've seen it happen plenty of times just by sharing your experience. And that's why I'm open to that whenever.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, man. And congrats on all your continued success, dude. It's amazing to see, extremely inspirational, and truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy to be here, man. This has been a lot of fun, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, it was, man. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. And I hope all your listeners got some value, man.
Yep, 100%, dude. And real quick, before we jam out, man, what is the best way, Darrin, for if anybody wants to, continue following you on this success journey, or reach out, get in touch with, like, where's the best place for people to do that at?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram. Just type in my name, Darrin_DeSilva, DARRIN_DESILVA. And you can direct message me, anything, reach out. Like I said, we have a Monday mastermind every single Monday at 10 a.m. with just 600 top producers all throughout the country. And it's an open invite. Just DM me if you guys want to plug in. It's transformed my business. And hopefully, you know, anyone else that wants to hop on that, it could hopefully help you as well. So.
Yep, badass. All right. Well, thank you again, Darrin. Truly appreciate it. And those that are here watching and listening, we truly appreciate you. Truly appreciate all your support. Keep up the amazing work. Keep kicking ass, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Later.